Welcome to Abagone's collection. I am Abagone and this is the game character from Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls was my first game from the Souls series, and then developed into my favorite series with Dark Souls. After I saw the promo pictures that are on the box too, I went and pre-ordered my first figure ever. The level of detail and masses of accessories from my favorite game simply persuaded me. The Figma series from Good Smile is extremely expensive, which is definitely reflected in the packaging, which is very high quality. However, this figure in particular is also overpriced at 160 euro. That's why I really wanted to take a look at the China copy for 20 euro. The background is pretty cool. It shows the first level Bolitarian Palace with some undead, a fat official, a blue knight and of course the wyvern. In hand the figure itself is also very detailed. I was expecting the figure to be a bit heavier though. It is quite light. The packaging of the copy is pretty obviously a copy, not like other figures where the difference is hard to tell. Out of the box the figure was quite stiff at first, but after taking it apart it became smoother. Although it looks very similar to the original, it is constructed differently in places. I also wanted to show you the game itself. For the release, Demon's Souls and Dark Souls each had an extra version with artbook and soundtrack for the same price. Demon's Souls even comes with a strategy guide. The Fluted Armor is on the cover of the artbook, but looks different as the figure is based on the PlayStation 5 version. Ostrava also wears the Fluted Armor. It is the armor the knight starts with, but the guide shows the temple knight. The strategy guide is great because my favorite way to play the game is a mixture of discovering it myself and looking it up. The art book is also good. The art style is one of From Software's strengths. There are many small differences. The original has an extra joint on the foot. The painting is the biggest difference. A wash was used on the original to make the fine decoration stand out more. Later I will show the individual parts. The hands are connected by a rod and not a ball. They are pretty tight, but I still get flashbacks to the Guts Figuarts figure. The torso is connected to the hips and legs by a double ball joint, which offers comparatively more movement but is too easy to detach. However, due to the shape of the armor, there is hardly any bending movement anyway. Unfortunately, I broke the copy. I achieved this by oiling the hip joint and then turning it. The joint was so tight that I simply twisted the plastic off by moving it back and forth. The wrist is the next example of poor tolerances. The joint sits firmly in the hand instead of the arm. That's why I didn't replace the hands on the copy. Here are all the one-handed weapons. The broadsword and the longsword, each with scabbard and the iron knuckles. The meat cleaver and the moonlight greatsword. The kite shield and the dark silver shield. The original still comes with a bag that comes with every Figma figure, a manual and a replacement wrist, and an adapter with which a shield can be attached to the bag. Let's take a closer look at the weapons. There is hardly any difference in the broadsword. In my case it was covered in paint like the left thigh, but it was easy to remove. On the original, the pommel can be removed to better equip the sword. The longsword is also close, but the shape and painting are a bit messy. Here, the complete hilt can be removed, to be seen on the scabbard. What I noticed with the first weapons is the same all the way through. The molds are very good throughout. The original tools were probably also used. Just sloppy finishing. There are remnants and edges to be seen, and especially the painting is not good. The poor painting is particularly noticeable on the two hand swords. The handles or pommels cannot be removed from the fake. Also not with the scabbard, so that it does not fit if you want to use the scabbard together with the drawn sword. The kite shield is also a good example of poor painting. The back is simply slapped on. With the printed dragon, you can see on the original that it was applied with a brush, which can be rated as bad. But in this case I like it, because it makes it look more real. With the dark silver shield, the differences are small. More wash was used on the original and some details on the back were painted silver. Straight out of the box I tried to create a pose that shows the differences in flexibility. Then I oiled the hips, which destroyed my fake. Therefore, a further comparison of the articulation was pointless. This is what the figure looks like, almost completely disassembled. You can see a dent on the left side of the helmet on the fake. The joint for the head is also different on the fake and doesn't have such a long reach. The biggest difference is the abdomen with the joints. While the joint for the upper body on the original is far too easy to loosen, the joint for the legs on the fake is very stiff and simply garbage. The joint in the hips for the legs is still a little stiff on the original. They therefore move together instead of separately, which will loosen over time. When separating the chain apron, the glue was dissolved. The poor tolerances of the joints are clearly visible on the leg. They were exactly the opposite with the fake, and the whole joint sat loosely in the leg and was almost immobile at the hip. The torso differs mainly in the joints. Here too, the glue used does not hold. The arms are also built in the same way, but the tolerances of the components are much worse. On the belt with the hip plates you can see very well how much more detailed the original was processed. Many of the buckles on the fake are simply silver, and the crystal in particular looks very good on the original. Without the original I wouldn't even know what this is supposed to be. A very detailed figure with a lot of accessories. Everything is wonderfully finished apart from the over-engineered joint from the upper body to the abdomen. This messes up the handling of the figure and hardly brings more movement, for a price that just hurts. Sure, the copy has virtually no development costs and is just sloppy, but in a perfect world I would consider 100 euros to be reasonable. But if you take a look at the Figma series as a whole, you will quickly realize that all the figures of the last few years have the same problem and are consistently overpriced. Nevertheless, I just like a high quality product with an eye for the detail. The copy can stand up to the first glance, and for 20 euros it's worth it, even if you only want the weapons for other figures. But above all, it made me appreciate the original more. And as always, a look in my display case. See you next time.